languages, that it is upon the Muslim community to learn. And not only are those languages there, just we can't even comprehend that those questions have been asked, let alone responding, let alone making our own claims, let alone making our own call based off of that language. We can't even understand it. لِيُبَيِّنَ لَهُمْ, so that He can explain to them clearly. فَيُضِلُّ اللَّهُ مَن يَشَاءُ, and then does Allah mislead whoever He wants. وَيَهْدِي مَن يَشَاءُ, and guides whomever He wants. وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ, and He is the Almighty and All-Wise. وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا مُوسَى بِآيَاتِنَا, and we sent Musa with our ayat. أَنْ أَخْرِجْ قَوْمَكَ مِنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ, bring your people out of darknesses into light. وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ اللَّهِ, and remind them of the days of Allah. As we spoke earlier, especially the Meccan surahs are oriented such that some of them predominantly focus on the ala'illah, or the ayat of Allah in the universe, with respect to whatever blessings you see in the physical world around you, and then, or within you for that matter. But then there will be other surahs that predominantly focus on the ayyamullah, the days of Allah, the days of the beginning of creation, the days of previous nations, historical ayat, lessons from history. That's focused. And then akhirah as well. So that's the two, and what we saw in the previous surah, Surah Ra'ad, focusing more on the ala'illah, on the ayats in the universe, fil afaq, in the world around us, delineating them, talking about them, alluding to them. This particular surah focuses more on the ayyamullah. إِنَّ فِي ذَلِكَ لَآيَاتٍ, and for sure in those are ayat, لِكُلِّ صَبَّارٍ شَكُورٍ, for every enduring, grateful person. You will find examples of endurance. You will find example of perseverance, of sabr, of shukr, of gratitude. And so for you to understand what those patterns of response, of sabr and shukr results in with respect to their consequences, how those people are dealt with, how they are rewarded, and how those who do not conform to these attributes, how they are punished. And so not only does the Qur'an lend truth to the universe around us, as in a source of knowledge that can lead us to Allah, it lends that veracity, that authentication, that verification to history as well. That history is that platform through which Allah's ayat have been made manifest, and to understand His sunnah, you have to be very well versed there as well. وَإِذْ قَالَ مُوسَى لِقَوْمِهِ, and when Musa said to his people, اذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ, remember Allah's favor to you, إِذْ أَنْجَاكُمْ مِنْ آلِ فِرْعَوْنَ, when He saved you from the people of Fir'aun, يَسُومُونَكُمْ سُوءَ الْعَذَابِ, they were subjecting you to a dreadful punishment. وَيُذَبِّحُونَ أَبْنَاءَكُمْ, and they were killing your sons, they were letting your women. Can there be any doubt about Allah, the originator of the heavens and the earth? So we saw Musa alayhi salam being mentioned separately, then all the rest of the messengers, they're clumped together. Their call is summarized in these ayats together. يَدْعُوكُمْ لِيَغْفِرَ لَكُمْ مِنْ ذُنُوبِكُمْ, He invites you in order to forgive you your sins. And so we see within a span of a couple of ayats, two dimensions of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of His attributes being represented. That He is ghani, and He can do away with you, and He is inherited right now. That He is calling you in order to forgive you your dhanb, your dhunub. And we cannot hide one and show the other. That there is just this side of Allah in which He doesn't care for you, He can just do away with you. The fact that He can replace you, the fact that He can do without you, doesn't mean He doesn't care for you. Doesn't mean He doesn't love you, or He wouldn't want for you to have opportunities. Again, that tyrannical representation of Allah, as if He is some sort of Pharaoh who can just dispense away with you, and no, He would say that, He does say that. But that strict tone is taken in particular contexts as a reminder, as a stern reminder in response to certain attitudes that deserve that. But then the other side is presented as well. He's inviting you because He wants to forgive you. He's inviting you because He wants to draw you closer to Himself. He's inviting you because He wants to let you grow, mature, become stronger, spiritually, intellectually. He wants to empower you in every which way. وَيُؤَخِّرَكُمْ إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى, and to give you respite for a certain period of time. قَالُوا إِنْ أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُنَا, they said, you're no more than a man like us. So in their understanding, they cannot imagine a human being being a prophet. And this follows from a black and white image of reality, which has the divine world pushed as this utterly transcendent realm, which has absolutely nothing to do with the human world and cannot have any relationship with the human world. And so the divine is far removed, unconcerned, callous, tyrannical, and just self-obsessed, with no care for humanity, with no concern for humanity, with no interaction with humanity, with no response to humanity. And so when they say human beings as prophets, that's something that doesn't fit into their framework, their worldview. And so they say, you're human beings like us. The same understanding reflects itself in people who grow up thinking of prophets as prophets, that they were messengers of God. But the same logic, humans can't be prophets, works in an inverted format. Prophets can't be human. So even though we might say that they were human, but our attitude towards them is such that they don't serve as role models for us. For in our daily conversations, for in our interactions with each other, and what we say to ourselves, whenever an example or a role model is presented to us from them, usually the side that is presented is that which represents their superhuman, supernatural qualities, not their human side. The fact that they had needs, the fact that they had desires, the fact that they had daily interactions, that they suffered pain, that they would react. Those are not represented at all. What is represented is their miracles, their absolutely inimitable qualities, their unmatchable qualities, which they had as well, there's no doubt to that. And so the result of this representation, this inadequate representation, is an alienation, that they are to us like comic book heroes. You can't be like Superman. He's like Superman. He's an alien. He came, from another planet, and he can fly. You can't fly. So simply you can't look to get anything from there. And so we grow up believing in prophets, but the logic that humans can't be prophets in an inverted format, prophet wasn't human. And so when we're having these conversations, we say statements like, but he was a prophet. How can I do what he did? But he was a prophet, but he was special. I'm not special. قالوا إن أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا. They said, you are no more than a man like us. تريدون أن تصدونا عن عما كان يعبد آباؤنا. You only intend to prevent us from what our fathers used to worship. فأتونا بسلطان مبين. So produce before us some clear evidence. قالت لهم رسلهم. So their messenger said to them, إن نحن إلا بشر مثلكم. We are only men like you. They did not contend with that. ولكن الله يمن على من يشاء من عباده. But Allah bestows His favor to anyone that He wills of His ibad. Allah's relationship with human beings is that intimate, that He does want to send messengers to Him. And so He favors some of them so that their condition changes. وَمَا كَانَ لَنَا أَن نَأْتِيَكُمْ بِسُلْطَانٍ. And it is not possible for us to bring you any authority, any sign from Allah, إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ, except with His permission. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَلْيَتَوَكَّلِ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ. And on Allah alone, let those who would rely. وَمَا لَنَا أَلَّا نَتَوَكَّلَ عَلَى اللَّهِ. And how is it possible that we should not rely upon Allah? وَقَدْ هَدَانَا سُبُلَنَا. And He has directed us to our paths. And so it is important to understand, and this is repeated in the Qur'an multiple times, yes, there is one Sirat al-Mustaqim, but the subul, the pathways, are multiple. Everyone has their own sabil upon the Sirat al-Mustaqim. Just like we're required to pray, and to pray is part of being on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. But the way you pray and the way I pray inside of the prayer, yes, there will be the form of the prayer, for the most part, it's similar. 95% even across different interpretations, it's similar. 2 sajdas, 1 ruku, across the board, no matter how far across you go. But within that prayer is the quality of the prayer, is the attention within the prayer, the needs with which I approach my prayer, the benefit that I get from that prayer. Is that same across the board? My unique situation contributes to that. My unique personality, I carry that with me to that prayer. So yes, that Sirat al-Mustaqim, that general pathway, but the general highway, if you will, but then the subulana, the multiple ways of being there. The way the community of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam accommodates Hassan bin Thabit, a poet who is not at all adept at war or fighting, and also incorporates Khalid bin Walid. When the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam praises Khalid bin Walid as one of the swords from the swords of Allah, he also praises someone who has the exact opposite personality in Hassan bin Thabit, saying that his poetry strikes at the hearts of disbelievers like arrows. And so that recognition within a community being all the more important, so that we don't become a cult. We don't expect everyone to do exactly the same thing and only consider one thing to be the highest and the other to be the lowest. And so it is with this conception that a lot of people start judging themselves. They feel small about themselves. Oh, I have these responsibilities, too many responsibilities. I can't pay attention I can't pray a lot. Women in particular having to take care of children, very little children at home, and not being able to tend to their ibadat with as much freedom as they would when they don't have those responsibilities, and then feeling guilty for that, not recognizing that that service at that time, that requirement is as great in its particular context. But if you make absolute hierarchies, fix them, and that one is absolutely better than the other, and make no room for the other, then that's just what you've condemned yourself to. That's what you've just subjected yourself to, these challenges, these personal challenges. Some people do not have the capacity to memorize the Qur'an. They simply don't. They don't have the IQ to do it. And to condemn them for it, maybe they never got the opportunities for it. So to be able to incorporate that within our society and let people do whatever. Everyone has their own challenges. Everyone has their own pathways that they have to come across. You have to be the best version of your own self. Your competition is with your own self primarily, before it is with anyone else. فَلَنَصْبِرَنَّ عَلَى مَا